My PTSD is a result of a search and rescue that happened 500 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. We were involved in rescuing 2 American sword fishermen, and they needed a medical evacuation. The 2 men had been sucked through a hydraulic line hauler. They had catastrophic injuries. You know, the conditions were deplorable: high winds, unbelievable sea state. I guess I got to stare into the very depths of hell. It was impossible. You know, the overhead wires, the antennas, the gear, you know, all of our standard procedures went out the window. You know, we just knew we had to do it. Sometimes, you know, the stakes are human lives. We got both of them off the vessel alive, and unfortunately, one of the men succumbed to his injuries about 12 hours later. By 1991, I was in a pretty dysfunctional place, and I had to leave the military. I couldn't get near the helicopter. Back then, you know, in the mid-'80s, they didn't know what they know now. 60% of the people that are diagnosed with serious PTSD are diagnosed with 3 from what I call the laundry list: depression, anxiety, panic, suicidal ideation, anger, rage, night terrors, dissociative episodes, hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts. If that doesn't sound like a real pretty place to operate from, I can tell you from years of experience, it's not. I guess I'd been standing in a checkout line, and a person behind me reached out and tapped me on the shoulder. And, you know, here's this sweet little old lady. She wanted a copy of a magazine, and I did a snap 180 with my fist cocked, going to take a swing at whatever it was that was behind me, and it just happened to be somebody's grandmother. Then I pulled a major anxiety attack, bailed out, left the cart, just gone. And you know, those kind of experiences are being that disoriented, or you know, are part of the reason why you cut off being in public. I had battled for 2.5 decades. Some pretty ugly things: the night terrors, the depression. It was a horrible, ugly place. My life changed forever on the 6th of August, 2012. And that was the date that I got paired with my service dog, Thai.
No sniff. No sniff.
She has been, in some ways, the best therapist I've ever had. When we go out in public and she's in her vest and she's working and she's kind of her calming influence that she is. And then other times when we're here at home and we start playing around, just being the goofy dog, sometimes even just that is so important, because you laugh. Dogs have an amazingly acute sense of smell. She can smell the change in your biochemistry. That's what makes her so uniquely qualified and so valuable. She's been trained to watch my back in public, and there was an incident in the airport, and she had moved herself around behind me, and I turned around, and there was Thai watching my back, and the lady who was right behind us, she wasn't real happy, but I tell you, I was, because Thai was that barrier. And I tell you, when I realized what it was she was doing, I knew that I wasn't going to have a repeat of the Walmart incident. Once my wife and I became so convinced of what Thai was able to do for us, we just knew we had to get other people the same kind of help.
Let's go bank.
The January after Thai had walked into our lives, we decided we'd put together an initiative. It's called Pause for Thought. And we've reached out to the Royal Canadian Legion and now the Mental Health Association of Nova Scotia. And both of those groups are engaged in helping us provide service dogs to veterans and now first responders, the police, RCMP, fire, assault and abuse survivors are going to be able to access the kind of help that Thai has given me. What's a human life worth? How do you say to somebody, sorry, we can't come up with $5,000 to save your life? In almost 3 decades, I've never had a therapist show up at 4:30 in the morning and wake me up and say, it's gonna be okay, you know? But, you know, there's Thai. Wet nose, floppy ears, big brown eyes. doing her thing. So in some ways, people think it's really complicated. It's not. It's really simple.